What's up, guys? We're live. Got your boy here, the Angry Beaver. What's up, Ray? How you doing?
Good, man. A little tired, but push through the week. It's all only option we got.
Yeah, considering all the bullshit snow that we got.
Yeah, here too. We're right around 2 feet. So.
All right, there we go.
See, we got Tim in the chat. What's up, Tim?
Yeah, I'm just setting up everything for StreamYard because we are live on Facebook also today.
Nice.
I'm playing around with it. There we go. So now everybody on my Facebook and shit can see how embarrassing I am at times. So interesting week though. I mean, between NXT, the Friday night SmackDown, and Raw, and then Kenta coming out of nowhere on AEW. This has been one hell of a week. So what we're gonna do is till Jeff shows up, I'm waiting for him to come on. Why don't we go set it up with NXT, because obviously NXT is tomorrow.
Sure.
What did you think of the NXT show this week?
I liked it. Again, most of my attention just kind of naturally diverts into AEW, so I do miss some things from here, from time to time. But I do like the direction that things are going. I am excited to see Pete Dunne and Finn Balor with their next match coming up soon too. So, but yeah, I mean, good things.
I mean, I can't wait to see what they do, especially with Edge. Probably going to be in that Scarlet position where he's perched up there and everybody's just watching him, just like paying attention to Edge. And both of them are like, come on, pay attention to us, not, Edge. But
Right.
It's going to be one hell of a match.
Yeah. And I don't mind them teasing him going there. I think last week we talked about how it didn't really make a whole lot of sense because he was never on that roster. But I think the way that he tried to sell it last week with this brand is what pushed me to get back into wrestling. I think that was a nice way to tease the idea that makes it even possible, makes it even realistic. But I don't think he's going to pick the NXT title. I think what's going to end up happening, not to jump too many different shows here, but I think Orton's going to end up coming out.
It doesn't matter what order we talk about it anyways. I mean,
right. Yeah, so I think Orton's going to end up coming out of Elimination Chamber with the title, and then I think you're going to get Edge and Orton for the Raw title at Mania, which I think can set up a cool story with Roman and Edge maybe down the road after all that stuff is done, because it's Roman's mad that he spurned him, but realistically, like, he can't do anything, or maybe he can. I don't know what they'll do with that, but I think he's going to end up facing Orton at Mania for the Raw title.
I've already stated this on Aaron's show. Speaking of Aaron, it shows up right on cue. Aaron, if you want to pop in, let me know. The thing is that I stated this and I went on a tangent on a show, which I feel horrible about, and I feel like it's right for him to do the same on mine, which is a rant. It's not a rant-free show, so if you feel like going off, go off. It don't matter to me. I mean, we've had Rob Wilkins, your boy Rob Wilkins, went off about WWE production, and then there's a 30-minute rant about me on a Raw show. So I mean, if you want to go, but that's neither here nor there. But I think what's going to happen, and I stated this, is that Roman, money-wise, it's all about that. It's going to end up going with Roman. But if you had to put both of them on paper, and they've talked about this at length on some shows, I think, I'm not sure which ones, so don't quote me on this.
Sure.
That on paper, Finn is logical as a challenger against him. Now, if you take the coup de grace out and the spear out, they have very, very similar styles. If you take the 1916, the reverse 1916, and turn it around and just
love
the regular
that move.
1916, it literally is the execution. It's both of them are similar, like mere images of each other, which is ridiculous. And I can't believe it, how good of a match that could be, and especially with after falling out from Dunn and stuff, because I don't think there'll be a takeover in March. I don't think there is.
I don't believe
Unless
so.
they're trying to call it Lucky Devils something. Because right beforehand, Ray even admitted they should have called it the Valentine's Day Massacre, which it's kind of hard to do considering there really is one, and it's in my backyard in history wise. But the thing about it is that it makes more perfect sense if you put both of them side by side. Now, card wise, it falls into the scenario I put out there last week where Roman would go against Bryan, and then you could probably put Priest versus because between now and then Priest can get hot.
They could.
But the thing is, what they just did in that whole scenario, they threw the whole chamber monkey wrench in that whole fucking old screwy thing, and look what happened. I mean, we've now got and this show, by the way, if anybody's first time watching, we bounce around on all the stuff, so you're going to be like, "What the heck?" or "What the deuce?" With the chamber, it literally threw a monkey wrench because they're all former champions, except for Drew. So, I mean, in a sense, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, like a boxing match. It's going to be Drew versus the Field, or it's going to be, in this instance, and I'm going to use this. Are you familiar with the Gotti Ward matches?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Mickey Ward is actually a boxer from Massachusetts. He's from Lowell. He had 3 bouts with Arturo Gotti, and they basically Gotti won 2 out of the 3 matches. Ward had the title for like a short time. I think what they need to do is build something up like that, make you get invested into the WWE title. Well, right now, the 2 titles that everybody's paying attention to are the NXT because of Dunn, the international side of things, and then do I have to say any more about SmackDown?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good spot as far as you can't really go wrong with the decision. It's just, do you book it properly? I think Edge is too. I don't want to say this dismissively because I do like NXT, but I don't see the sell of him going after the NXT title because we know that Drew or Roman or Orton or whoever is, the Raw champion, or Roman. I think those are bigger draws for your main event. I don't see, like, it would be a very good match, but I don't see that as like your WrestleMania Royal Rumble season builder, because NXT, I don't think they're there yet. And again, like, Edge doesn't really have the history. You can say it brought him back as much as you want, but I feel like the Raw or the SmackDown titles are going to be where they put it, because that's where the money realistically is for them. And I think that those are going to be your matches.
So I just saw Wrestling Plug John pop in. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to talk about latter half. I'm going to have you make your picks and stuff, and anybody who pops in are going to make theirs.
Sure.
About Takeover, because I'm going to hold off mine till tomorrow with Steven Jensen, and then I'll probably see if I can cut it. But we're also going to do some fantasy booking tonight because obviously it's Tuesday night. What insanity can we get into? Or the word of the day, shenanigans. I should have that whole Pee Wee Herman thing flashing, but I know I'd get trademarked. It's interesting in this position right now with WWE where they have 2 really good champions, 3 good champions, but the third one they don't know what to do with. And it's the same way on the women's side. It's like, come on, like, do something right. Do something that makes perfect sense. This right here, the man himself, Sean Ross Sapp, says make wrestling make sense. And I've said this to him. I've said this in general. He's 100% right. It makes perfect sense to get Asuka running and Drew running. The problem is that they're your major championship flagship shows.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they doing?
Well, people aren't going to like this, but Asuka is about to get Ellsworthed again by Ric Flair, and that's a weird thing that I never thought I would say, but that's going to be what happens. Is she's going to, when they have that match at Chamber, Rick is going to cause a distraction, Lacey's going to win, and it's going to be one of those spots where she shouldn't have, just like when they did with Carmella and Ellsworth beating Asuka, and then we're going to get Flair and Lacey Evans at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's title.
Oh,
and realistically, that's like your bury it in the middle of the card somewhere type of a match. Because I mean, we know that Roman is going to main event night 2, no matter who he faces, just because that is your draw. And if they're smart, they do Bianca and Sasha as your night 1 main event, and then you've got plenty of other good quality matches that could co-main event, can open and be a lot better. But that Raw Women's title match is going to get buried in the card, and it's a shame because they've got the women to make it mean something. They just don't.
I think more so that, and this is an idea I'm floating around for Mania ideas, and just for this show, but just in general. I think what should happen is that they need to do something with Asuka, because they've focused more on Io and Sasha, rightfully so, but Asuka's left in this white noise right now, and it shouldn't be that case. I've already stated it, and you may have had this conversation on air and also after the show, that they need to fix Raw, because that is your freaking flagship show. Oh, when Raw first started and they started SmackDown, though they always said Raw was the A show, SmackDown was the B show, NXT is your development show. It's your number. Other SmackDown's coming real close behind it, like literally mere inches to it, but it literally is the number 1 show. Hell, if you have Bully Ray saying positive things about NXT, and you can look it up. There is, I think it's either Instagram or Twitter. It's somewhere all around there, saying that the wrestling stories are better, the physicality is better, they're more hungrier in NXT and he was compared to AEW at this point.
Yeah, I saw that. I think there's some politics to that, but I mean, Bubba Ray's always been a little weird like that.
A compliment, because the point is that SmackDown, compared to with SmackDown, is basically the same way. They're getting hungrier. They want to be the best. They see how NXT is now. All these really high end talent, and it's literally insane how things go on, and it doesn't. Well, Aaron's gonna pop in. It doesn't make any sense for you not to give these guys the opportunity to actually compete. Now, what I mean is, Raw's your flagship show. It's your A show. It's been like that since the inception of the show. But my God, man, I should have a rant warning going on. But my God, it's one of those things that I'm going to be, today's the 9th. We're literally like 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from me turning 40. And I remember 1992, right around that area when Raw debuted. But that's supposed to be your number 1 show, and you're treating it like, I don't want to say the word, but I'm trying to hold off on swearing.
Well, and I think
I want to do that.
I think part of that is a little different, though, when we look at it in 2021, is the fact that you now have multiple shows where when Raw was doing that, Raw was by itself. Its only competition was other companies, which when they first started, like WCW wasn't really competition at that point either. So they had that corner on the market. And I think now when you compare it to SmackDown, and you look at the fact that they're on separate networks, Fox isn't going to spend the hundreds of millions of dollars that they're spending to have the B show. They're going to want them to be competitive. So I think from a WWE standpoint, if you're smart, you can say that yes, Raw has the history to it, and that's been the flagship show, and it still remains the leader and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, like, both shows are supposed to be really good. And realistically, you have enough people on your payroll. You're a multi-billion-dollar company. You should be able to produce quality content on all three brands, and that shouldn't be enough to, a big ask. And I'll cut them some slack the last year because of some COVID stuff, but it still has been bad booking decisions that have been the problem, because you have a very, very deep roster that I know all these people talk about how 3 hours is a big show. And I understand that. And I don't know what it's like to write a 3-hour show every single week. So to the people that do it, major props to you. But you have enough people in your roster that you should be able to produce 3 hours of content every week when you know you have a week to book it. You have 7 days to make decisions on stuff that you can make decisions beyond. And if you don't have enough time to do that, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. Hire more people to make more writing decisions. And I know it's all Vince getting his hands on everything, but I mean, that's really kind of what it breaks down to, is you have the talent, you're just not doing it.
And JJ said send Asuka to NXT for great matches, meaningful storylines, gives her a reason to care. It's not the fact that Asuka needs to care. It's just the fact that WWE needs to utilize her to her full potential.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issue of Asuka not caring. This isn't to make the joke. This isn't Shinsuke surfing stories. They have not booked her well, and I don't understand it. If it's because she can't cut promos because her English isn't good enough, give her a manager. I know he's busy right now, but I thought Dolph Ziggler would have been a very good mouthpiece for her. That would have been a weird little combination, but it could have been fun.
You have a perfect mouthpiece right now walking around with the Riot Squad, and you could use Billie Kay to her full extent.
Obviously, you'd have to make some kind of a trade, but like that'd be very fun.
What would you do with Asuka, Aaron, if you had the opportunity to?
Asuka? Well, she'll beat Lacey Evans. We'll get that out of the way. Then I'm worried about her at WrestleMania.
JJ, we don't need another Black Monday again, please.
I just saw that. It's true, but it shouldn't be. Hire people if you can't make it work.
So I think we'll get this out of the way. We know Elimination Chamber is the week after. I think we all could agree Lacey Evans is not winning that match.
I don't want her to, but I'm telling you, Asuka's gonna get Ellsworthed.
I don't think Asuka's gonna have a single match at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be like the Bayley match from last year WrestleMania. I think because there's no built-up storyline with her. So I think it's going to be like the Bayley match from last year's WrestleMania. You're going to have multiple competitors.
I think it's a possibility if it's done right. And we've pointed out is that between now and Mania is 2 months. You literally have, like me and Aaron were calculating, I think 9 weeks till Mania.
9 weeks, yeah.
So you could build something quick for Asuka and build it and make it strong, but you have to give her somebody to go. And I hate to say it, the only person that seems to see anything that doesn't have my whole problem. I really don't want to get into that conversation.
Let's not.
Yeah, it is. I hate to say it, Lana.
She injures herself though, so that's better than injuring somebody else.
I think if they have to make somebody hot and apparent, I mean, Lana could do it. But the only way they could make anything relevant with that title, the Raw Women's title, and Asuka having it right now, is somebody that they want very desperately to come back. And right now, it doesn't seem that's going to happen anytime soon.
Ain't going to be Becky.
No, I'm not talking about Becky. I'm talking about Raw.
Okay.
Have you noticed Asuka has never been in the Women's Royal Rumble match ever? Oh, she won the first one.
No,
She won up. So she's been only in 3, one of them, right?
Yeah, but they've only had 4 now, right? And she was champion for 2 of them, right?
JJ, you don't have to keep it PG, man. I have to keep it PJ hosting it.
I'm just saying. I'm afraid my fear is going to be a multiple woman match for that Raw Women's title of WrestleMania because there's no direction. For SmackDown, we have a direction with that.
Yeah, I mean, if the Raw Women's title is Asuka, Rhea, Charlotte, and Lacey, like as a 4-way, like I'm all about that. That would be fun. Make it a ladder match or something. You can throw Alexa in there. I actually was just about to say, if Asuka doesn't have the title, what you could do to get her a Mania match is you do Alexa's playground house fun match, whatever you want to call it. But you could do like the cinematic, like what Cena and Fiend did last year. You can do that with Alexa and Asuka, and they could do something good with that too.
I think at this point with Alexa, they need to do something to give her that title and make it relevant. And it's not, I don't want it to be like a Fiend thing where they give the Fiend the title when they're trying to build it up, and then all of a sudden, boom, it literally goes to hell in a handbasket. Yeah. It give her the title, make it build up. Once they're done when the Fiend comes back with Roman, with Alexa, I'm waiting for that thing to go off. I'm tired, dude. It's been a long day, and I think it's just one of those things where they have to build Alexa strong, and once Bray comes back, they got to build them together extremely strong.
Yeah.
And the only way you could do something like that is just, since they're on Raw, make Bray really relevant. Whoever comes out of Mania, let Bray be the psychotic, psychopathic, ICP clown going all crazy and stuff like that, and have Alexa just be the Harley Quinn that she's supposed to be to the full potential. That scene about a week and a half ago of the blood coming out of the blood capsule, I think we talked about that, Aaron.
They didn't even talk about it on Raw last night. There was no mention of it. They never do. Show. Like, you had this woman bleeding out of her mouth with some kind of like brownish color, and you didn't even talk about it. Like,
because she wasn't even on the show. She wasn't even on the show either.
That's worse than when they teased. Did Randy Orton burn this woman alive? And they went half an hour to go.
Thing, right? Like, that should be the first thing. The Randy Orton thing.
It doesn't make any sense.
JJ just said Fiend part of ICP would be interesting. I'm from Michigan, where ICP is from. Please, no, I don't want that.
Have you ever been down with the clown?
I'm telling you, like, I'm from Michigan. Fago is from here.
WCW days when they were like the most used with the Vampiro and stuff.
Yeah. But I think for me, they need to do something to make it relevant and make it. And Alexa, if you're going to put Alexa in that Mania match, that 4-way Mania match, make it make sense. And right now, the only match they have planned that seems to make any lick of sense, and it sounds really bad, is basically Lacey and Charlotte, because Charlotte has the connection and stuff like that. And I mean, what would make more sense to me, and they already, I have to look for this comment because of the whole, oh, there we go. Well, I mean, they are prematurely, setting stuff up right there. I mean, if you need to use Blue Chew, go right ahead. Codename Fightful. I'm not plugging that. I don't get no money in it. I'm just saying, hey, go ahead and,
Get you a sponsor soon.
Yeah, no, I don't even want sponsors. I just want people to have fun. And at the end of the day, my show is all about just, having fun, having a great time. I'm with my friends and I'm shooting the shit. That's basically, if somebody asks me, here's a good question. Aaron, what is your podcast about? What do you tell people?
My podcast is about, just fun stuff, wrestling, sports, and pop culture.
You know what's my answer? It's simple, quick, to the point. I'm just hanging out with my friends, shooting the shit and acting like an idiot.
We're like the APA.
Oh, that's the other thing I want to talk about, by the way. Thank you for reminding me. But they need to make Alexa more sense. And if they're actually going to give her the title, do it at Mania and not do it in a situation where Asuka's irrelevant and it's already past the time. They have a really good talent and a champion. They have a good amount of women's talent that they're only focusing on a little bit of every one. I mean, they got to do something.
I feel like Alexa does have a legitimate claim to a title match. I mean, she beat Asuka and then was about to beat her again, and then Randy
came out,
Orton RKO'd her. So I mean, she legitimately has a chance. And we kind of mentioned all these different people. Yeah, I think a multi-person ladder match for the Raw title. That's probably the way to get me most interested in that title, because I do not want to see. And we
JJ, you're
probably
awesome.
we probably will see it, but I don't want to see Lacey and Charlotte. I don't think that's not a WrestleMania match to me.
No,
but it will be.
They'll figure it out. They have 2 nights to do something like that. Just so long as Gronk's not on there. I'm not a Gronk hater. I just don't like him being in WWE.
100%.
No,
Bad Bunny's gonna wrestle.
Speaking of which, Bad Bunny on I think did we talk about it on your show, Aaron?
I didn't really talk about it. No.
Okay. So the Q4 came out a little over a couple of weeks ago.
I did talk about it.
We talked about it a little bit last week with Dennis Farrell of Wrestling Perspective. And by the way, go check out Wrestling Perspective. Their stuff's phenomenal. Dennis was awesome and very gracious. I can't wait to have him on again and pick his brain again. But it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do, because they did mention Bad Bunny and he's still outselling everything.
I think he's their top merch seller right now.
Yeah. It makes more sense to keep him around and stuff like that. I mean, if WWE was smart, hell, if I was Vince and I was just like, wait a minute, I could see dollar signs, be like, Aaron and Ray, make me money. You're like, literally, the whole Paul Heyman thing about how he wanted to go off on Vince, and Vince like, I don't care, make me money. And that's from Inside the Ropes, by the way, just when they did an interview. It's on YouTube. It's interesting to see how, Vince one day will turn around and be like, well, we might as well give Bad Bunny and I hate to say this, and it might happen because it's WWE. And hopefully JJ starts laughing after I say this. Maybe Bad Bunny will literally get the money in the briefcase and cash it in for a title. Or better yet, I'll give you a better. Truth will lay down for a pin and give him the 24/7 title, and then he'll come out like Elmer Fudd did for Rumble.
I was just about to say, I think you give him the 24/7 title. I don't think you have R-Truth lay down. I think you do the same thing that everyone else has done, is you sneak up, you roll up pin, and then you get it. But I think, given this dude, I think I saw he's already like over $500,000 in merch sales, and he hasn't even actually wrestled. He's like their number one merch person right now. Let him defend that title like once or twice, where someone tries to defend, like tries to roll him up, and he's like, no, and he just kind of like hits him and walks away or whatever. Like, he has shown he looked smarter last night. He looked smarter than 95% of the roster. This is a guy who's never been involved in a real match, and he knew enough to get Miz and Morrison involved enough to get them thrown out. That was brilliant for a guy who's not actually a wrestler. Like, keep pushing this guy.
He was a fan. He's just like one of us. He's a huge fan of the product of WWE. He's a huge wrestling fan in general. And look what happened. I mean, come on, JJ.
I don't want Cardi B in the ring with Lacey. Lacey would destroy her. Lacey's she's in the Marine. Come on.
That would be a Snooki kind of idea thing going right there. But I honestly think that what should happen right now is that they need to do something with Bad Bunny to capitalize more besides the merchandise, and they're doing it right now to get more eyes on their product, which is smart. And those numbers going into the next quarter on their financial aspect is going to be huge. How WWE belts, they said they're the most expensive belts for replicas. I know, I own one.
I do not, because of how expensive they are.
I got mine off of Amazon, so I mean, it was one of those purchases I've always wanted to do. It was just like, oh, screw it, why not? like you look at it, you're like, I wonder that would look good in my room or something. And that eventually, when the studio's finished, that's what's going to end up going. It'll be right behind me on there. But anyways, it's interesting to see what they've got planned and what they're going to do. And I'm hoping and I pray to God that they use this person, this talent, this icon in music to his full potential. And what they should ask him, in other than doing the performance with the Booker T song, to have him do something for Mania where it's 2 nights, have him make the theme song, 2 different theme songs, and for Mania for night 1, night 2, and then go from there. What did you think about? You didn't watch the quarterly, right?
Correct.
All right.
But yeah, I think that it is good that they keep kind of riding this too. Like, let it play out, keep doing some stuff with him, because he's drawing in other people. Because I don't know if you saw, but Bow Wow, who hasn't been relevant in a long time, he's like, hey, let me in at this. And say what you want about whether or not he's like gonna be a draw or anything like that. I don't really care, but you're getting more people from an audience that you didn't have.
You know who they should Bad Bunny should bring in? Luda, because they just dropped that Fast 9 trailer.
And he knows people. Like, you can do stuff with him and Rock, him with Roman. I mean, dude, if he doesn't need to be in a ring, just have him be a mouthpiece for somebody, like just for a couple of weeks. I would love to see Ludacris in there. That man is awesome.
I would love to see Bad Bunny as Priest's mouthpiece.
Rock WrestleMania.
No. Not at WrestleMania.
They hate each other, right? Because they hate each other. They don't like each other.
Aaron, lift up your camera a little higher.
Sorry, it's my laptop webcam.
Yeah, you just got to push it back a little further. Because all anybody sees is, yeah, that's fine. But it's just, you got him to do something, make him do something more fun. And as much as Raw is really, really bad in some spots, the Bad Bunny stuff it's fun and it's interesting to watch. On WWE's top 10 Raw segments, on their top 10 they do after every show, number 1 was Bad Bunny running around with the briefcase.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing really good social media numbers. He is the number 9 streamed person on Spotify in the world. Like, he's a draw.
I wish I was number 9 Spotify person and draw.
Go back to Cardi B. Go back to Cardi B. Did you see the Wayne's World commercial?
Yeah, that was like my favorite.
She was the worst thing on it. She was the worst thing on it.
Oh, she wasn't that. I forgot. I was so entrapped with the Wayne's World. I loved that commercial.
But I think she was the worst thing about it. I think the commercial is good with what's their name, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, but I don't think she was good on it.
I mean, anything Mike Myers does is interesting. At one point, he was talking about doing another Austin Powers and stuff, but he's kind of hesitant because of Vern.
I don't think it's a 4th one.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, with all being said and stuff, and we're literally 34 minutes into the show. I'm hoping that if they capitalize this right, it could lead to bigger and better things. And then with their hopes to break the attendance record and stuff next year from Mania, maybe this could continue off and on, him popping in out. And then you have R-Truth trying to hunt that rascally rabbit of his. But I think what needs to happen, though, is that Bad Bunny needs to be managing Priest in some capacity and stuff. But the problem with that is that it's the Brother Love Undertaker kind of set part where Bruce Pritchard had to leave house shows because he had to go and help the production side of everything, and he couldn't manage them at house shows, and that's how Paul Bearer came in the fold. Something.
Yeah.
And and it's something that I'm interested to see what they do. It's going to be exciting. I can't stop laughing thinking about Looney Tunes.
That
But
was fun though. That was the fun thing about the pre-show and Royal Rumble was R-Truth.
yeah, and they have the opportunity to do a lot of things. I mean, he outsold Taylor Swift in some points. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's Denise.
I think you have to be careful at that saturation point though, because it's cool seeing him do what he's doing, but it shouldn't be too much, because I know he said like, yeah, I want to train and I want to be in a match and everything, and that's fine, but like the bar got set really high with Pat McAfee. Like he had no matches, nothing. He came in and killed it. Dominic
McAfee did
Mysterio.
train McAfee. The difference between Bad Bunny and McAfee, and before we get on this, McAfee was signed to a WWE contract, I believe, for NXT as a developmental talent, and then he didn't want to do it anymore, and they left the door open for him, and he became widely famous and stuff like that. But Tom Brady still beat the crap out of him when he was a football player anyways. So yeah,
Punter and quarterback. I don't know how that works, but
Well, he was like one of the best punters in the league at the time.
yeah.
But I think, and I don't think McAfee hadn't had any matches. His first match was a takeover with Adam Cole. That's a really high bar, especially when you consider that Dom had debuted at SummerSlam against Rollins. Like, go ahead and give him a match, but you do have to be careful of not using him too much. Let him pop up at some pay-per-views. Let him be involved in some stuff. You don't want him a focal point. You don't want him as your Roman Reigns, because that won't work.
The difference between Bad Bunny and Pat McAfee is that Bad Bunny he's well known. He got a lot of eyes on the product, but he's small and skinny. Compared to McAfee, he was a football player. Yes, he was a puncher, but he's built.
Big.
Yeah, he's built, so he could take more damage than Bad Bunny could in the ring if he ever wrestles. So I have more faith in Pat McAfee than Bad Bunny in getting more involved.
Say this much: Bad Bunny could probably take a freaking crossbody better and jump off something better than Gronk.
I mean, McAfee was in a War Games match. The second match is a War Games match. That says something.
Yeah.
I know that, but I was trying to make a ploy on a celebrity that's that high value in last Mania. You think about the stories coming out of Mania about Gronk not wanting to jump off and Vince doing it.
Have you seen the footage of Vince doing that jump?
Yes,
That's
I
amazing.
have.
Like I will criticize Vince a lot, but that video was awesome.
But I was making the point that you never know, they might have him do it, and Bad Bunny will be like,
well, I mean, he did that top rope dive last night, right?
Yeah,
he dove off the top rope. So
yeah,
Royal Rumble he did it. Did he do it? The Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
Oh, last week's Raw he did it.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm saying like him doing like a lot more stuff like that.
Shaq could break the ropes.
It'd be like Big Show and all that
Snoop
stuff.
Doggy Dogg splash.
I can't hate on that stuff. I mean, if I could do all that stuff, I'm 6 feet 260. I could run, but I can't. It takes me a little bit to get a full head of steam there, man. I'm like I said, I'm changing into another new decade in a few weeks. I ain't like as freaking spry as I used to be. But I think what they need to do is capitalize on it, and they are. And that's what the Q4 is going to help. But also with the Peacock deal, and now this is why I wanted to talk about the earnings call. And I might see what Steve Jensen says about this tomorrow. I think it would be interesting to see and find out how Bad Bunny's numbers on his merchandise sales are going to basically equate to into the next earning calls, how all this merchandise sales is going to equate into the Peacock deal, because now with Mania coming up real soon, and if he's going on, let's say Fastlane, he's on there with Priest as a manager against Miz Morrison or something like that. And then at Mania, he's doing performances on stage for Priest, kind of like how Limp Bizkit. Yes, I kind of get the whole freaking Fred Durst vibe sometimes. But it's one of those things. I think that if they do something like that and have Bad Bunny do like Priest's intro, or even better yet, make Bad Bunny produce and make a version of Priest's intro, but make it his own version where it's a little more grittier and stuff like that. Because you're connecting both the wrestler and the musical talent. And I want to see what happens with those sales of the merchandise, for one thing, from Bad Bunny, equate into, because they don't look at ratings, they look at social numbers, equates to the transition to Peacock going into Maynard, to making those casual fans, I'm not doing this, those casual fans curious about it, who are fans of him, to subscribe to Peacock if they do not have Peacock from Comcast as part of their cable service, to be able to connect to it and being able to sit there, watch a free performance on television that's not the Grammys or some musical thing, and be able to enjoy it. And you've hooked somebody who's never watched a wrestling pay-per-view in their life being curious about Damian Priest. So you do two things at once, and that they'll be night one. They did this last year with Mania, with doing the whole 2 nights, and they did it because of the pandemic, and they did it, free, live on national TV. But I want to see the numbers, if this is going to be on the network, and what Peacock does for this, and what happens with these numbers and this money that's coming to it and transferring over.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be I don't know if he's going to have the impact where it's going to start affecting quarterly calls or anything like that. But I think you can get some casual eyes. The more, and again, that's a reason to put him on Raw and not keep him pay-per-view specifically. But yeah, I don't think you're not gonna see a 250,000 extra views or anything off of Bad Bunny being on there for 5 minutes, because again, people will look at the YouTube stuff and they'll go, oh, he was on there, that's cool, I got that spot. So
but this could also bring the fact of the musical era of Creed, Disturbed, El Nino, a lot of these bands, when they had a lot of them doing Saliva. Shout out to Tim Trevor, who's in the chat, by the way. Nickelback, some of these high-end bands. I mean, hell, you had Disturbed doing Shatter the Glass as, Stone Cold's theme song, and the first lyric is Step Off. I mean, you could re-energize a musical side of your brand as WWE and start selling and the opportunities for companies like Spotify, Pandora, all these streaming platforms for music, and have Bad Bunny produce a wrestling theme song that could be a #1 hit.
Well, and I think you have to be careful of who you do it with too, because as much as he and Priest as a little team of, hey, these guys get along, they're friends, they hang out, that's fine. But Bad Bunny's also not Damian Priest theme music, because he's got that dark edge to him, and that's just not Bad Bunny's, that's not his music, and that's fine. But then he makes a song for somebody else, and then they're all just kind of friendly with each other and whatever. But I think Damian Priest is one of the few WWE entrances where it's a good song and it fits the character, and I wouldn't mess with that.
No, but you know what I mean, though, is somebody, he gets a grittier version of it, have Bad Bunny produce it, have somebody else perform it and stuff like that,
Half the roster's got new theme music this year anyway.
Yeah, and it's all been terrible. Like, when they changed Aleister Black's theme, I got really upset. Like, legitimately got upset. And I don't do that about wrestling, because ultimately it's wrestling. But I was like, no, he had a very, very good one. But now he's not even on TV, so that's what doesn't matter.
So for me, we're going to move on from this point because of the fact that I don't feel like chasing that rascally rabbit anymore. But we got Vengeance coming up. We're going to do some fantasy booking too afterwards, just for the fun of it. And then we'll talk about some sports because, well, why not? Basically with Vengeance coming up, which matches are you guys looking forward to the most?
I gotta be honest, I need to refresh myself on what the matches are. Let me go clickety clacking.
So you got Dunn versus Balor. You've got the triple threat match for the
Kushida and Gargano.
Yep. And then you have the Dusty Classic men's and women's final.
We decided this Wednesday. We'll find out the finals this Wednesday.
Yeah. So and I've already said this we'll talk about the women's. So right now, Raquel and Dakota are in there, and we're waiting for the last team. Whoever wins, and I'll make this prediction, and I made this on Aaron's show on Monday, his yesterday show. Go check it out at 3:00. Whoever wins the Dusty Cup is your next women's tag team champions at Mania.
Hopefully. I mean, hopefully they get a shot, because then otherwise what was the point of this? But yeah, I'd be all about that.
Well, I think the winner gets a chance at the titles anyways for their women's tag champions.
Have they said that? I don't think they've said that.
No, they haven't, but they should. No. They should get a title shot.
It seems so logical that you'd think that they would announce it, but like, this is a company where unless they announce it, I don't trust them, because even when they announce it, I mean, look at Sheamus.
Well, I like Sheamus's new look with the whole classic 19.
No, but I mean, like,
kind of thing.
He won the right to a one-on-one match, and then they go, nope, it's a chamber match. So
I agree with JJ that Balor and Dunn is going to be the match of the night, but I think EO, Mercedes, and Tony Storm. That triple threat is probably going to be the show stealer. It might pure fighting style match. Balor, like hardcore hitting match. Balor and Dunn will be the match of the night that everybody's going to be talking about. But I think the match that is going to steal a show is going to be the triple threat for the NXT Women's title. But I think another thing that people should pay attention close to is the Dusty Club final, because with Thatcher and Ciampa in there, it's going to be a clinic.
If MSK is in that match, that's going to be a one to watch for sure too, because they've been pushing them pretty good so far. So I mean, I like all the matches. I think Kushida, I'm not a big Gargano guy. I know that's controversial, but I like Kushida a lot, and I know that Gargano's good enough to work with for a lot of people, and I know he puts together fantastic matches. So that one will be good. But yeah, if MSK
I'm going to equate this much because going in Indy Now even pointed out that Gargano Kushida is going to rule. It will rule, but I think in order to make the North American title right now a lot more prevalent, you need. I put this in a better quote, and I said about Mickey Ward and Gotti. You need that kind of mutual respect, but yet you guys want to destroy each other kind of match. And I think Gargano and Kushida could be that. And we need something where Gargano loses the title, Kushida holds it, and then Kushida loses it at the next at the pay-per-view for the Takeover at Mania, and it goes back. It's not where it's gonna. I want something where they touch now. They have another match before the pay-per-view, before Fastlane. Kushida wins it, and Kushida goes into night 2. There won't be any takeover. He goes into night 2 as the North American champion, and Gargano goes at it. I want them to have Gargano look in the shadows, Kushida look in the shadows, and all of a sudden do it, and then after that, Kushida doesn't touch the title, go near the title for a little bit, and go back in. What happened to those types of matches? They used to do it with The Rock and Austin a lot, and now they don't, and it's kind of sad. It would be a really good, interesting thing.
Well, and I think part of the issue too is that the North American title is the.
And I agree with that. They have to bring Bronson into the whole scenario too.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, get him involved in something and make us care about him. But the North American title, realistically, that's like your 9th or 10th most important title in your company, and they really only have 1 or 2 champions who are booked strong right now. So I think that's part of the issue too, is they don't book champions very well. And when on the hierarchy of titles, that one is down there 8th or 9th or even 10th in line. So I think that's part of the trouble too.
So I'm going to throw this question out to both of you because I think I threw this out to Aaron, but I want Ray's opinion on this. What do you think of the possibility? Because they're using the women's tag belts as a floating championship right now for all three brands, but it's a mid-card title, but it's a tag title. What do you think of the idea of throwing a secondary title for the women's and make it float and put it as an actual floating title? And you could have a tournament between Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, crown it at Survivor Series, and have representatives for three per like, how would you do it? 5 and 5. So yeah, like a 10-person bracket, and literally whittle it down to the last two, or a triple threat kind of style match where you have one representative each team of each brand going for that title, and whoever wins that title is that. Because a chamber match for that would not work.
I mean, it could if you did 2 people from each brand and were to do that. The issue that I take with that is not that I don't like the idea. It's just that in order to add another title, you need to make the first 3 matter. And right now, the Raw Women's title doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the tag team titles do not matter. And so, yeah, it would be a singles title instead of a tag title. But if you can't book that properly, it means you're already too busy with what you're doing of not booking anybody. So if the tag titles were booked a lot better, if the Raw and SmackDown titles and NXT titles were all booked super strong, and they said, look, we've got a chance to do a floating, I would love that, and make it so whenever you crown them however you want to crown them. But then they can make the decision of, okay, I've been on Raw for a little while, but there's somebody on SmackDown who put something out on Twitter that I thought was stupid, so I'm going to go to SmackDown and I'm going to fight them. And then if it gets lost there, and then the champion can decide to go wherever they want, and someone from another show can call them out and say, hey, I know you're over here, quit hiding, come over here. And you can make it work that way. I wish that that's what they would do with the tag titles, but yeah, I think before you add another title, you need to book the ones that you have better than what you're doing.
Well, to book, I just thought of it because we thought there was not a name when we were talking about Asuka for an opponent. Nobody's pointed out Rhea is basically in limbo about the whole where they're putting her, and they're going to put her on Raw. They better have to put her on.
Yeah,
and there's your Asuka as a challenger at Mania.
Yeah, when we were talking about it earlier, I said if you wanted to do a multi-person match, do Asuka, Charlotte, Rhea, Lacey, Alexa, and pick one more, and Naomi.
I'm going to say this about the women's tag team titles. It's a hot take here. It was all fan service. Because when fans were clamoring for it, and they got it, Bayley and Sasha won it, as everybody wanted, and ever since then, only one team, I think it was legit, and that's the Kabuki Warriors, and every team since, nothing legit. It's complete fan service with no plan. They just give it to the fans. And as fans, we want stuff, but we want stuff WWE to follow what we want, but sometimes it does not work, and the tag team titles for the women clearly shows it.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I don't think there's anything wrong with that statement, because when they brought those titles in, they had a lot of really, really good women's tag teams, to the point where I was like, yes, this makes total sense. You've built the division. I watched the first women's Elimination Chamber over the weekend. It was 2018. It was Banks and Bayley. There's a tag team. DeVille and Rose, that's a tag team. And then it was Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, who at that time were a tag team. So you had an Elimination Chamber match with 3 tag teams in it for a singles match. And it was just part of how they did things. Everybody had a friend that was with them that was their tag partner in the entire women's division on all 3 brands. It seemed like nobody was flying solo except for Flair and Becky and Asuka, but like everyone else was with somebody. And then they bring in the tag titles and split everybody up. It didn't make any sense.
I think what they need to do is, with the Dusty Cup, literally just turn around and have the winner of the cup challenge the champions right now, which looks like it's deteriorated real quickly. So, I mean, you can't. I prefer them to not make it a middle card title. I prefer them to actually use them to their full potential and make everybody care. tag team wrestling is a really good thing. It's a psychological thing. And it's a good segue. We're going into this now, and we'll go back into the idea of another women's title just to talk about it in a second. But the APA is a good example of as much as they're an interesting couple, that at the end of their run and Ron Simmons going into retirement, they absolutely care about each other and love each other as family. And you need that type of thing, instead of throwing Hunter and Austin together where their characters don't like each other, but they're going to coexist. Whereas when
I liked that, though, they didn't do enough with it, but I liked that.
That's only because Hunter got hurt.
But how many people were very upset when Bradshaw basically, when Heyman fired Farouk, and Bradshaw was just sitting there looking at like he was a complete jerk, and then they cut to a backroom segment, and then there's Ron Simmons leaving, and he's like, "Come on, Ron!" And then the following week after that, he comes out with the stretch limo with the cap and all that stuff. I mean, these guys, that's something that makes you care. You got invested into them as the acolytes, and then they turned around and do the APA, and we need that again. I mean, AEW has a stacked tag roster. Impact, stacked tag roster. New Japan's probably got a stacked
Not really.
roster.
They're just Chaos Factions members, really. If you talk to Warren, he doesn't like the tag team picture in New Japan.
It's pretty messy.
Or Sean.
I want New Japan tag team doesn't mean much. Always the same guy, same tag teams.
Well, and we know that Vince doesn't really care about tag teams either, because I mean, like I said, they split them all up all the time.
Look at Hunter, though. Hunter appreciates the tag team art because he's got 2 tournaments going on his baby. You think Vince watches that product, but do you think Vince ever puts his hands on that product?
I doubt that Vince watches half of that product, but I hope that that's something that if Triple H is the one that takes over, I hope that that's a love that he doesn't get rid of, because we know that as much as he was involved in DX and Evolution, he made his money as a singles wrestler. But I think he does have that appreciation for tag team wrestling, and I hope that it doesn't get Vinced out of him, because he's gone very Vincey the last couple of years. So hopefully that influence doesn't stick with him.
Hunter will do tag teams when it makes sense. Like the 2006 new DX reuniting, that makes sense.
I think the Women's Dusty Cup makes sense. I think the Dusty Cup in general makes sense. And the thing, what it needs to happen though, is that, and just to bring it back to the idea of another title, is that they need to use the women's tag titles to their full advantage, and have a match at Mania that makes everybody's jaws drop, and have them just take the shackles off. If Dakota and Raquel win the women's, the Dusty Cup for the women's for NXT, let them go against, let's say the champions at the time is the Riot Squad, because obviously what happened Monday happened. It's just let them go at it, give them a good 20 minutes, and let them go on, because you have to fill time. If you're promoting 2 nights of a show, you need to fill some time and let them have 20-25 minutes of a match. Let them put the title on the line and literally let it tear the house down for one night and make it matter, because you got to make those belts matter. It make people care about this stuff.
I don't know how pressed for time they'll be. I mean, last year they had, I think it was 18 matches on the card. So I don't think they'll have that many, but I mean, I don't think they'll be in a time crunch, just because you'll have a lot of titles on the line. You'll have a couple of those marquee non-title matches. Sean has mentioned the idea of Cena and Goldberg, and I don't hate that, but even if it's a 5-minute match, it'll take a half an hour, because the entrances will be big. The video package will be big because it'll highlight all their careers. That'll take, You talk about filling time. That'll fill time too.
That if they do that match, that will be a cinematic match for the most part, probably.
You think? I don't.
Yeah, I think
those guys don't really feel like cinematic guys. I mean,
no,
Cena and
but
Goldberg.
I think
no.
if
I don't feel like Goldberg is the type.
Yeah.
the match,
especially
where's
because we're gonna
Anakin
have
when you need him? Because like Anakin timed it. The match was literally about 2 minutes and 40 seconds against Drew.
Yeah,
so
that's when the bell
wanna,
rang. But like,
no, but I'm saying if this is Cena is saying icon kind of match. I kind of think that it's better off to have it as a cinematic match where they draw it out and then they get to the ring, like kind of something like they did with The Rock and Mankind, where they had the empty arena match and had it all. They were basically taped that thing, but just have it a little different. It would be interesting to see, but I mean,
they're going to have crowds though for this. It's not going to be full crowds, but you're going to have a crowd. And if you bring in a crowd and go, hey, here's Goldberg and John Cena on a screen, you're not going to have very many people happy with that.
It's going to be one of those things that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
So we've kind of tried to make our picks for Takeover. So I know some of the matches off the top of my head. I looked at a couple of them. So Kushida or Gargano, which ones do you guys have?
Kushida.
Gargano.
Balor versus Dunn.
Balor.
Okay. Triple threat match. Io Shirai, Toni Storm, and Mercedes Martinez. Who comes out the winner and going into the next Takeover, if there is one?
I would like to see Mercedes, but I think it's going to be Toni.
I think it's going to be Io. I think she's going to retain.
I wouldn't be mad at that either if it was Io.
Okay. Winner of the Dusty Cup, who is it for men's and women's?
I would like it to be MSK for the men, and then who's left for the women?
So it's Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon take on Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell in the final semifinal match. Whoever wins that faces Raquel and Dakota.
It'll be Raquel and Dakota, I think.
I agree, and I think they'll face Shotzi and Ember in the finals because I think they'll beat Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae and finally Shotzi gets her revenge, but her team will lose to Raquel and Dakota at Takeover.
I think I'm just pointing this out. I just like how he tried typing Garg. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. We Takeover Sunday. We're going to end up doing a live stream anyways and do a watch along. Why not? It's Sunday. Going to have some popcorn and, maybe a mirror we could throw somebody through or something. Who knows? Why not? I mean, we could get a little crazy sometimes. Why not? I mean, I'm still in my 30s. I got to live it out for the next few weeks and do something stupid.
Yeah.
Other than that, just like insane amount of wrestling in the chambers coming up. What did you guys think of the participants in the chamber going against Drew?
That's my reaction. Jeff Hardy.
I love Jeff Hardy. I really do. I would not be a wrestling fan without that man. But unless he went to them and said, hey, I got a spot.
And I agree with that.
Unless Jeff Hardy went to them and said, hey, I got a cool spot for a chamber bump that no one else wants to take that I think would be awesome. Let me get in just to do that. If that's why he's in there, then I'm cool with it. And I know when you have 6 people, you're going to have people that are going to have to lose, and he doesn't get hurt by losing. But yeah, when they said everyone is a former champion, I went, oh, so like no new opportunities. And I wouldn't mind that if the guys had earned it, but you just said, hey, here they are. And then right after you announced the match, you took 2 guys from the match and said, we're going to put them in a singles match. So Jeff Hardy loses that match, and now he still gets the title shot. Like, what was the point?
Jeff Hardy in the Miz, they should have switched him out with 2 other guys. It should have been Keith Lee, but to put him in the U.S. title picture now. Yeah.
It should be Lee and Riddle in the chamber.
Yeah.
And we should have gotten that match from last night in the chamber, but that match ruled.
That match could be good, though, that Intercontinental title.
That match should have been for a shot at the U.S. title.
Oh, U.S. title. I forgot. Intercontinental title was Smackdown. My bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's been one crazy week and stuff, about a minute and 5 minutes. So with sports coming up and stuff like that, with no combine, what are certain matches you guys looking at coming up for basketball and hockey, since NFL's already done for the year? And I'm not talking about the Super Bowl. That's too painful right now.
Matches like soccer.
I'm actually, I've been watching a lot of documentaries recently about Manchester United and stuff, so I'm kind of intrigued about that stuff. I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about Revolutions, like MLS, a little bit when they start up and running eventually. But
CBA.
Yeah, but I think what will be the interesting part about it is that with MLB trying to push back the season, what that will do for spring training. Is that going to end up going into March or even
not
later?
pushing back the season. They're starting pitchers and catchers next week.
So what are your expectations, Aaron, for your team?
For my Blue Jays?
Yeah.
They're going to battle Tampa for second East, and they're going to battle for a wild card spot. They just need upgraded rotation, and they'll add to the bullpen, but they're going to hit. So that's my expectation.
What about your Tigers?
They're in the rebuild. I mean, some of the recent draft picks that they've had,
I know the Tigers
have been good. So I'm hopeful that basically pandemic will get over. We'll get some things back to normal, and then about a season later, then the Tigers will be good again.
Casey Mize, look out for that.
That's. Yeah, but the guy that they drafted last year was supposed to be really good. They've hit quite a few of these young pitchers, I think, is what it looks like. So I mean, we'll see. It's going to be. I mean, they're about 2 years into a 5-year plan, so we'll see what happens. But
I'm looking forward to actually sitting down and watching baseball, and actually watching a game eventually at Fenway Park. Pedroia retiring. My neighbors are shoveling. We got almost 40 inches of snow in three storms. So I think what will happen is that the money they use for Pedroia for his contract will loosen up some cap space. So eventually they can do more moves down the line. The guy they signed from the Dodgers looks very promising, and I'm very hopeful. Kind of, but I'm more curious to see what they do with Bradley. The Benintendi thing is interesting. I'm hoping that they do something well. I'm kind of not, actually, because he's more of a defensive person. His stats are like in the 260s and stuff like that. I mean, he's a defensive presence and a lower end ninth hitter, hole hitter. But if you're gonna have me, I'm old school. I believe like the Otis Nixon kind of deal. Yeah, that tells you my age a bit. Where like you have your center. Yeah, it tells you like your center fielder is literally your number one to start your lineup, like they used to be, and now it's like a dying breed. You don't see any center fielders doing that anymore. I mean, think about it. If you were Alex Cora, would you put Bradley Jr. at number one to start your lineup? No, you would actually put either Bogarts or you put Benintendi up there. Someone who could actually set it.
Good on base percentage. Has a good on base percentage. He could get on base. He put a lead off.
I think Devers should be moved to second, and I think the kid that they had last year, the rookie, that it was his first full year, that they had him moving around. I think they should just permanently
something like that. Michael Chavez, something.
Yeah. I'd have to look it up. I'm bad at that, but I think that they should just have Devers as your second baseman, and that would make it because that would replace a big gap in there. But without pitching, you can't do much, and Sales is still recovering from Tommy John, and we don't know how long that will be. But hockey is king, my friends, except for in Detroit. So
it used to be. It was king here for a long time.
Like 20 years, to Detroit.
It was like 27 years or something. I think that they went consecutively making the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, that was when I was a kid, they were winning Stanley Cups. They were doing the big brawls with the Colorado Avalanche. So
They
haven't drafted
were
him
they
well.
were the equivalent
They
of
haven't
what the
drafted him well,
Braves
man.
were at one point.
no,
Where
Well,
the
they
Braves
were-
kept winning NL East championships constantly.
but the Red Wings were winning Stanley Cups, so it's different because they
No,
won, I think,
but-
3 or 4 of them, though.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
the Patriots winning the AL East for years and then winning championships and conference
90s?
championships.
And
But the
90s
Braves
was
never won anything, though.
No, they
won
did.
their-
They won a world. They won one World Series
Oh,
in
yeah.
the entire time.
But the Red Wings, it was like in the 90s and early 2000s, it was like the Red Wings, Avalanche, and Devils dominating.
Yeah.
If I told you, yeah, it'll be 20 years since actually 20 years yesterday, a couple of days ago. If I told you in 2001 that the New England Patriots would have a Super Bowl, you would have told me you were nuts. And 20 years later, Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl, and he was the quarterback of of a Super Bowl team 20 years ago, and he's the Super Bowl of a championship of a Super Bowl team from a different team 20 years ago. That championship set off a chain of events that changed the entire area here. Yeah. There are kids in this decade and last decade who grew up that not knowing like what my parents had to go through, certain family members had to go through. You know how difficult it is to have your grandparents and everybody who are diehard Red Sox fans. My dad tells me to this day that my father dated somebody who was literally a Yankees fan, and this girl was scared shitless to tell my grandmother about it, and my grandmother literally found out, told my father to break up with her, and if not, he would kick her, and my dad would be kicked out of the house. My dad was 15.
So I can't compare with the Red Sox, you know, them going almost 100 years. Like that's a long time. But I am in Michigan, and we do have this team. They're not very good, so I don't know. You might not have heard of them. They're called the Lions. They're real bad, and they've never been to a Super Bowl. So I mean, the Patriots. You talk about that one. They were in a Super Bowl in the 80s. They were in one in the 90s. They lost them both, but they were there.
But so, I'm going to say this much. You have the Red Wings. You have Michigan. You have Michigan State. You have all these major college teams out there for hockey. I have Hockey East. You know how many? It's just, yeah. I have Hockey East.
You can't say too much bad about the Pistons because when they're bad, they are. When they're bad, they're
I'm just
real
talking
bad.
about 2004 team.
But they've got a few rings, and yeah, it's yeah. I actually, you mentioned the 2001 Super Bowl. I actually did think that they were going to win that one, ironically enough, because that was the first one after the 9/11 attacks, and I thought, hey, post 9/11, how fitting would it be for the Patriots to win? Mm-hmm. And it happened. So,
hey, Jobber, if you anything, think about it. Cricket is also an extension of baseball because cricket, some of this stuff from cricket is actually taken.
You know,
is actually the foundation of baseball.
You know what I say about soccer? And you know, soccer is an older sport. I say hockey. We take hockey from soccer to play it on ice with sticks and stuff. We have a goalie, and basically it's the same thing. If you think about it.
Well, speaking of football, going into that, what did you guys think of the announcement that EA is bringing back on and it's the college football series?
Clip this if you need to. I'm excited.
Where's Anarchy when you need it? He's already at work, but that would be like something he would make into a gift.
I hope they pay the players for
yes.
Because when I play those games, it's always the number jersey instead of like the names because they don't have the license. So hopefully we can get the stuff we worked out.
Give those kids a cut. Give them a free copy of the game. Give them a small cut that gets some cash in their pocket or something. Because I mean, that's
soccer is taken way serious over in England compared to football here. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
his
the same
other
thing.
comment about sports being taken way too seriously. He's absolutely right. People take it ridiculously serious. I love sports. I coached 3 different sports for over a decade. I love them, but there is a line where people take it way too seriously. It's a game, folks. Just relax, have some fun.
Hey, it's life. Shit happens.
But if we get paid
But I
lots of
mean,
money, the only
but
people
I'm-
that take it seriously is the athletes because they're getting paid.
But the thing is, as a fan that's has been through the hard rate of the '86 World Series, that the 03 series where Boone hit the Wakefield knuckler out of the park, you know, certain moments that, you know, happen that you can't. The Reds, the team that they played against the Reds, which I know me and Sean joke about how the Reds it was better than the Red Sox. But I mean, think about it. Out of the World Series, of the Sox winning the World Series, Game 6, Carlton with Carlton Fisk hitting that home run, iconic. You know, just as much as like, you know, Folk throwing the last pitch for the Red Sox and stuff like that to win the series. It's those things where it's like you as a fan, you go through these heartaches where your family has to go through it, and it's just, you know, a South Park baseball episode where Randy
Thought this was America.
Yeah. But oh God, help us
What about the
all.
Olympics? Americans take it way seriously. The Olympics.
That one's funny to me because it's, hey, this is a sport that 3+ years out of every 4, you don't even acknowledge that it exists. Yeah. And now because there's a flag on it, it's a patriotism thing. Like, hold on, run it. You never cared about track before. You care about it now because there's a flag on it. Yeah. I think that's funny.
I could say this much. The Miracle on Ice team, they cared about that.
Yeah, and like the athletes for sure, but like the people who are like, oh, I'm super invested in this curling event. Like, you don't know anything about curling. Just and if you're transparent about it, like I will watch stuff and I'll say.
And on that note,
yeah.
And on that note about curling, we're gonna end it up right here.
I tried curling once. It's harder than it looks.
Yeah. And on that note, with curling, we're gonna end it on a proper note where we're gonna say that tonight's been a fun night. Just this is how it's always supposed to be, anyways. Everybody's welcome on the show, no matter who you are, where you're from. I guess Jeff probably forgot. I guess I don't know, but still, Ray, tell them where they can find you, man. Other than at a PTA meeting.
No. So, as he mentioned, I will not be on next week. I have teacher conferences because I'm a teacher. But you can find me on Twitter at angrybeaver1127. I appreciate you having me on, especially these last couple of weeks. I really do appreciate it. I struggle with like some depression and stuff all the time. Getting a chance to talk to you and to all these other people in the Fightful community, it is something that I really do appreciate. It's a lot of good people in this community that Fightful has really built up and that you've become a part of too. So I do appreciate it. It's great for mental health in a time when we're heavily isolated, because realistically, most of the time my day is spent with a bunch of 13-year-olds, and it's nice to have some adult conversation every once in a while. So I appreciate you.
You're making me want to start quoting South Park. County. The whole thing. You see that someone took that episode of South Park where they're literally Cartman yelling about all this stuff, and they took Dragon Ball Z and they literally mirrored the voices and stuff like that. So you say it, I'm like, Mr. Gaming, you're like, oh God, I need to make people laugh all day today. Work was dragging. Anyways, Aaron, tell them where they can find you, and thank you, Ray, for the compliment.
So on Twitter, you can find me at Aaron's Jays fan. So that's S after J, Jays. So make sure to put an S under there. And on YouTube, you can find me at my channel, Aaron Entertainment, as you see down below. And I do videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Mondays are at 3 about wrestling. Thursday, I'm going to have Anakin on talking about pop culture. Talk about like WandaVision. An awesome trailer from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Awesome. You're going to talk about math.
That's at 2:00. That's math. Maybe. Saturday, where we love sports. That's at 3 p.m. And yeah, so just check me out on my YouTube channel, Aaron Entertainment.
You could tell I'm overtired when I try to make everybody, when they say where you can find it, try to make them laugh half the way through.
I mean, baseball, we could talk about math. Stats, sports.
You could exactly. Sunday takeover, watch along. Anybody's welcome to join. I might see if I can get your boy Rob Wilkins on. We've had Anakin on last time for the Rumble. We had JJ pop in. I might see if I can have anybody else come on. It's just one of those things that's going to be fun. Tomorrow, check it out, 1:00. Jesse Davin's channel with Steven Jensen. I will be on, and we'll be talking about NXT, shooting the shit. You know, Steven's a good guy. Go check out the Weekender podcast he does for Fightful. You know, represent the Fightful fan, as Tim Trevor would say. And by the way, this is just circumstance. I just had it on there on today, and I was like, I ain't going to wear a jersey tonight. Check out Sister's Custom Designs. They do custom works, shirts, and all that stuff. They do really good. If you're in the Massachusetts area and you want to check out a barbershop, Uppercuts in downtown Lowell and 5-Star Barbershops in Drake, Massachusetts. They do amazing work for hairstyle cuts and make you feel like $1 million for a guy. Other than that, you know, do a good deed, pay it forward. There's so much stuff coming down the pike. 2 weeks from now is my birthday, and I gotta figure out what to do. So any suggestions would be great. One person said I should get a cake and throw it in my face and say happy birthday to myself. But I don't think that would be conducive with a microphone sitting right there.
Yeah, you get all dirty and stuff.
Yeah. But going to be doing some Uno streams here and there. I do have a Twitch channel. So it's twitch.tv throwback978. The channel doesn't get used that much, but if I feel like going in at it, might as well. Just going to do a little bit here and there. Check out the Facebook group too. We have a Facebook group officially for a while now, but it just don't put it over. Just search Wicked Crazy Pinfalls and you'll see some really cool people in there. Check out these guys. When the new channel launches, Ray's going to be killing it all the time, doing his stuff. Aaron's probably going to be popping in with me and Rob talking about sports in the morning show that Rob wants to do. So many great things, so many good people. Check out Hannah. Queen of Hannah has got her own Twitch channel. Check that out. Fightful's got the Listen to Your Boy tomorrow, and also the Wednesday Night Wars. Friday, Jeremy is back in the saddle again. Go check out them for the Smackdown review. I'm doing good deeds and helping everybody out. I pray somebody. I am literally one give close for 60 gifts given for subscriptions on the Fightful Gaming Twitch. And I was like getting closer and closer. But at the end of the day, do a good deed, pay it forward. Check all these people out. Check Aaron and Ray, Rob. Check when he's on. Check this stuff out. You know, these people do really good things. They do really good content. Demon Diva, wrestling stories. You know, wrestling perspective. All these people in these communities. Go check it out. Hell, when JJ gets his stuff going, have JJ check JJ's stuff out. You know, just so many great things. Mr. Warren Hayes' stuff also. Everything is in the description and stuff. And subscribing to the new channel. You'll be surprised what you see coming down the pike. Again, do a good deed, pay it forward. Thank you both very sincerely for coming on tonight. I really, really appreciate it, even though I can't drag Ray out of a parent-teacher conference.
Unfortunately not. They got that contract on me, unfortunately.
Yeah, but my contract's going to be coming up soon, so yeah, that ain't coming.
I'll send you some numbers.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you guys for being in the chat, hanging it out with us. People on Facebook, if you're watching still, thank you. You know, you guys are more welcome to be a part of the show, whether it's, I'm just going to name people, whether it's the DeCorpos, you know, the Johnsons, the Browns, anybody is welcome to be on here. If you've known me for years, you're more welcome to come on and shoot the shit and just have fun. And that's what it's all about. It really is. The show is dedicated to my mom, but it's just me making friends, being around friends, and talking about literally everything and bullshitting. So have a good night, guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
See ya.
Mm.